Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create this beautiful mobile app. Here the user can navigate to the categories section and then they can browse through the available category. So here we've implemented the vertical scroll and also the horizontal scroll here. User can as well navigate back to the home page to follow along. All the files and images that was used in this project will be made available in the description below. So kindly hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Let's get into it. After duplicating the files, we're going to get this three sections here. So we have the colors, images, and then the icons. So the first thing we want to do here is to add a frame for our design. So we're going to be using the iPhone 13 mini. After that, I can zoom in here and then add a layout grid to this. So now click on this icon here after adding the layout grid and then change that to columns. Now let's change our column count to 2 since it's a mobile screen, and then the margins, I'm going to set that to 24 here. So once we've done this, I think we're good with this, so I can close this section here. The next thing is to introduce rulers. To do that, you can click on the Figma icon here and then go to view. So make sure that the ruler is checked. So once the ruler is checked, you can come to the left hand side here, drag this and then drop it in here. So zoom in and make sure that this is aligned to this properly. So I can zoom out and then drag this here. So you can zoom in by pressing Command and then your mouse wheel, or Control and then your mouse wheel. So make sure this is also aligned properly. After that, we're going to add another layout grid here, but this time it's going to be rows. So here, we're not worried about the counts. Here, I'm going to set that to 42. And I can bring my ruler here and then zoom in to make sure that this is aligned to this properly. Now, I can select this and then hide the 2 columns and row. So once we have this, we can start our design. So to start our design, I'm just going to add some local style here quickly. So I can go back to our colors here and then select this dark color here. So I'm going to select this 4 dots here and then I'm going to click on the plus sign here. So I'm going to name this color dark. Then you can create style here. Then for this, I'm going to select this and then click on the 4 dots here and then another style here. So I'm going to set this to active here. Then I can create the style here for now. Then we have these 2 colors here. So I'm going to select this. So double click to select this. This is grouped, so you have to double click this and then I can add another style here. This is going to be stroke colors here, and then we can double click on this because it's also grouped, and then click on this 4 sign here and then the plus sign, and then this is going to be our active icons here. So these are the colors I'll be adding. You can add other ones. So for this design here, I'm going to start by adding a text. So this is going to be hello Femi. So once we've added this, I'm going to change the size of this to 16, and then I can double click here and then highlight this Femi here and change that to semi-bold here. Then I'm going to click again and then highlight this hello, and I'm going to change that to regular. So for Femi, we're going to change the text here to, so this time you're not going to change the field. Make sure you're selecting these 4 dots here to active. Then for hello, I'm going to click over and make sure I'm changing the text to dark. So I have hello Femi. So I can drag this to this point here where it's aligned. Then I can add another set of text here, which is find the right one for a healthy body. So at this point now, I want to make sure that each of the words is capitalized. That's R is capitalized O. So to do that without retyping this, I can select this icon here while selecting the text. And I'm going to select this here. So I can drag this to this point and then make sure we're changing the font to bold. After that, you can select the fill here and change this to our dark color here. So we have this design. So the next thing here is to add our icon. That's the notification icon. So for this, I have this my icon here. So select notification and convert that to a component. So we can go back to assets and then just drag this here. And then we have this. So for this now, we want to add a stroke to this design. So I can click on the plus sign here. So I think this icon, it was imported with a border radius. So if yours is not having the border radius of 15, you can add the corner radius for that. So let's change the color of this here to stroke colors here. And then for the icon inside here, we can just scroll down, make sure you're selecting that, go to selection color, and then we can as well change that. So let me use this here so that we can select our active color. So here I'm going to change that to the active color here. So we have our design here. We're going to come back and do the arrangement. The next thing is to add another frame. This is going to take in our search input. So for this, we can add a stroke to this here. Then we can change the color of the stroke here. So this is our stroke color. Then we can as well, okay, let's just click outside and see how it looks like this. Then for the feel of this, I'm going to add a feel, and I'm going to, from white here, I'll just change the last one to D here. So we have this. So the height here, I want to maintain 40 for the height. And then for the width, I want to maintain 270 here. So let's give this a border radius. So let's see. I'll give that 12 here, which looks fine. So we have 12. Then we can add our search text here for the placeholder search. So I'm going to make this okay, let's use medium for that. Okay, regular. Then let's reduce the size here to 8 here. So I can just mute this and maybe reduce the opacity to 50 and see if the text is muted. So I'm going to reduce that here. Okay, so let's add the search icon. To do that, I will come in here, zoom in, and then select the search icon and convert that to a component as well. So zoom in here, and then on your assets, okay, we're already on the asset section, drag it and then drop it here. So I'm going to drag this, and then I should be able to do this. Make sure that this is aligned here. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, it's aligned properly here. Okay, that's world aligned because the height is also 40. So you can select this parent here. You see, make sure that the item is clipped to content so that this, no matter how you reset this, it doesn't display outside. So now we have this design. So I'm going to carry the text in here and try to align this with this icon here. Make sure that it's aligned toward the center of this. The next icon we need to add is the filter. So I'm going to select this filter icon, and I will convert that to a component as well. Come back here and then drag the filter here. So now we are going to add a fill to this filter. So by default, I think it is white. So I'll undo that. It was like this. So I'll select this and then select this 4 dot here. So we should have an active icon here. So for this, we can select this and change the border radius to 15 here. So once we change that, we can now select this icon here. Make sure you're going to the selection color, select this 4 dot, and we can change that to active here. So let's say these two colors here are a bit bright. So let's see if we can use this color here. Okay, that's our active. So we have this. So now we can align these two items here properly. So I'll push this here towards the end. And then we can select these two here and then press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So for this, I think I want to increase the size of this search here to 10 here, so that looks a little bit better and then usable. So now we have this section here. So we can as well group these two items here, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout, and make sure that it is starting at the top here. So I can increase this here. Once I've done that, the spacing between them, I'm going to make sure that this is set to auto so that it can just align to this properly. So now we have this our section here. Then we're going to work on the category section. To do that, I'm going to create a component outside. So here we can have an image. So this is going to be our first image here. So I'm going to select this, but for each of this image, make sure we're converting them to a component like this. I'll do the same for this other one. I'll select this and convert this to a component as well. So now, after converting them to components, let's add a frame here. This time I'm going to set this frame to 48 by 48. 48 by 48. So let's give this a border radius of 15 here. And then it can be any of our colors here. So I'm going to bring that somewhere here. So let's drag it to this section here. So we're going to use any of this color. So I'll select eyedropper and then on my keyboard and then pick any of this color. So now I can go back to assets here. So now here you see whatever we're having here, it's icons, then we have images. Then I'm going to select the first image here. So I'm going to drag this vegetable and then drop it inside this section here. So after adding this here, so I can just align that here with this, make sure it's aligned horizontally and then vertically. Then I can add another text here. This is going to be vegetable here. So we can just say vegetables because it's a category. And then we're going to make sure that the size here is 8 pixels and then the font is regular. So now I'm done with this. I can highlight these two items here and use Shift A to put them in an auto layout to make sure that they are automatically aligned. Then we can convert this to a component. This time we're going to rename this to category. The first thing we want to do here is to change or add a property to this text. So now you can double click to select the vegetables. Once you've done that, scroll down to the right hand side and then where you're having the text, we can click on this here and say this is the category name here. Then for this, we're going to double click to select this image here. So this is the importance of converting the images to components. So right now we can create a property for this. So I can come in here where I have this. While selecting the image, you see we have this. So I can click here and say we have the category image. So for this category image, we're already using this here. That's the vegetable. So you can select this and you see you have option to select other categories. So that's the advantage of converting those images to components. So I can create that property here. So if I should come into this section here and then drag this category and then I drop this here. So let's go back here and then change the color of this. So I'll double click the vegetable. For the fill, I'm going to select this and then I'm going to use the dark color here. So don't worry about that. If we come back here, we have our category visible here. The next thing is I can duplicate this and then drag this here. But then let's change the title for this. So here you're going to see we have vegetables. I'm going to change this to fruits here. And then for the images, for the image here, I will click this and then look for fruits here. You see automatically I change this with ease. Then we can change the color of this. So since if you want to have a lot of this, you can, let me just show you how you can do that. We can click on the plus sign here to create a variant. So this variant now I can just name that cat 2, and then I can just change the background color of this from this to this cat 2 here. So if I should come in here and I select this item here, and instead of this default and I select cat 2, you notice that the color here immediately changes to this color. So you can have a lot of this stats if you just want to be able to select these colors and then play with them around. So I will just quickly just do this here, and then I can change the color, so cat 3 here, and then we can change the color to this. So scroll down where we have this, I can change the color to this. So after adding the category 3, we can as well just come in here and then drag this item here, change that to category 3 here, and you see we have this, and I could just select this and then make sure if you have something like this, make sure you're selecting the images and then go back to your, so this is spice, so I'm selecting spices here, then we can change the text here to spices. So after having this, we can just quickly come back here and then do the same thing. We can select this and then add 2 more variants. Select this again, add another variant. So after having this, I'm going to select this here and then make sure I'll go to the selection color here, press I here, and I'll select the third item, the fourth item here, and then I'll do the same thing for this. Go to selection color and then select this other item here. So now we can come back here and then rename this item. So this is going to be card, okay, the last one here is card 3, so I'm going to come back here. This is going to be card 4, and this is going to be card 5. Card 5 here. So if I come back to this section here and I drag this here or duplicate any one of them here, I'm just going to change this to card 4. You see we have a different color. If I duplicate this, bring that back in here, and I can change that to card 5, and I have another color. So it's easy, we can change the names here. So this is going to be ingredients like this. So we can change the icon here. So I'm going to click on this and look for ingredients. So I'll do the same thing for this. Select this, and this is going to be side dishes. So select the icon for this. We should have the side dishes small here. So now we can arrange these items, but if we want to have an excess so that we can implement the horizontal and vertical scroll, I'll show us how to do that. But for now, let's select these items here and then press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So drag this to the end here. Once you've done that, come back to this section here and make sure that the spacing between them is auto so that it covers everywhere. So I can just set to auto, and then I can click this item and then drop down here. So we can add a category here. So category, and this I'm going to set the size here to 16. Let's see, okay, let's make that 14, sorry. Then we're going to make that bold category. So the color, we're going to set that to, select this 4 dots here, and then that should be set to our dark color here. Then we can come in here and tell the user, we can actually show you everything we're having, show all. So for this, I can come back in here, select this, and then I'm going to remove, this should be as typed. So that means I want to make sure that this S is capital letter. So show all, I'll click this back here. So this is going to be 8 pixels, and then I should make this regular. Let's see. Okay, medium looks better, and then we can make that dark as well. Okay, let's make that faint. So detach this, and then I could just reduce some percentage here to, let's say 70, or let's say 50 here. Makes that faint. So I'm going to select this show all, and then the category, press shift A to put them in an auto layout. The same thing, I'm going to drag this to touch this ruler here, and then make sure I'm selecting this, and the space between them should be auto, so we can make sure that this as well. Okay, good. And then we're still maintaining the auto, so we have our category section now in place. So now once we're done with the category section, I'm going to add another frame here. So I'm going to add a field to this, and we can press I here and then pick this color here. So we have this. Then let's set the height of this to 150 here. So the width is covering everywhere in between the margins. Then we can set the border radius to 15. And we can add a stroke for this. So I'm going to add a stroke, make that 2. Let's see how 2 is going to look. And let's change the stroke color to this active here. So we have that. If you zoom in, you will see this. So I think for the stroke, 1 should be okay. So now we can drag this banner and then drop it here. So we just align this. So let's align it towards the ending. So to do that, I'm going to select this and then make sure it's aligned horizontally here. So now this line you're seeing outside here is our stroke. So now we have this particular design. Then the next thing is to add the plate. So I'm going to drag the plate and then drop this here. So we're going to rotate this here. So let's see. Okay, if we're good. So let's say I'm rotating this 27 point, let's say 7 here. So but we want this plate to be visible outside, so I can select this, and then instead of clip to content, I can clip outside here, so that this plate will be visible on this. So let's see. Okay, if we have this here, this is fine. Let's adjust this here, but we're still having issues with this item here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back here. For the soup, I will drag this to the top here, and then for the banner, that is now outside this frame here, so I can clip this to content so that we maintain this design here. So at the end, we're just going to group these items so that we can move them together. So now we have this plate of soup here. Then I'm going to add a hashtag here and say hashtag simple kitchen. So I'm going to change this to white here, white, and I have my first item on the text, on the banner, sorry. Then I can add a soup package, soup, then package here. So we're going to change this to 24 here, and we can as well change this here to bold and the color back to white here. So we have soup package here. Then let's add some random text here. No need to, I think I can stop here and then reduce the size here back to, let's say 6. So I can type now. So no need to think about ingredients anymore. Let's find your menu today. So here we're going to change this from bold to, let's say, regular or medium. So that still looks good. And then here we can change the fill back to white. Okay, I don't have white set, so I'm just going to select the white here. So we have this here, and then it's not looking too bad, but we can just rearrange this item here. Make sure the height is 150. So we have our soup package. So I'm going to select these items here. So now I can now group these items here by pressing Shift A to group these items. So now for the soup package, if we feel the spacing between them it's too much, we can try to adjust this by coming in here, and let's start with 20 here and see. So we can increase this to you're okay with the spacing between these items. That's the soup and then the package, because it's one text. So now we have this here, and I can select this group, these two, and then group them by pressing Ctrl G here. So now I will just change that to banner. So this is our banner here. So I can just click down here to push this downward a bit. So now we have this section of our application. Then we can now set that here. Let's set a text for this. Yeah, this is going to be, I'll select the text and then I'll add best deals. So best price or best deals here, best deal. So we can adjust the size of this to 14 so that it matches this here. So we can drag this somewhere here, and for this we can push this a bit downward. So I'll just try to push this down here a little, and then try to push it here. Let's try to balance this, so we don't want it too much outside, but then it should just give us that 3D look. So I will push this backward a bit again. Okay, so now my text, everything is visible. So up a little, and then good. So we have this here. So best deals, and I think everything is in a group now. So now after adding this, you might, when you click this, you might notice that we have an excess here. This is coming from this image here. It's outside, so but it's still not affecting our design. So let's create another component. This time we're going to use this large images. So I'm going to use this large images here. So I will select this first one here and convert that to a component. So for this, so I can do the same thing for the other ones, convert this to component, as well as this, and then we do the same thing for this, the meat as well, and then this here, I think. Okay, good. So now I could just pick this, the first one here, which is this here. Which one do we need? So I'm going to drag this here. That's the first item we need here. So now I'm going to create a frame. So this frame, I'm going to set that to 154. That's the width, by 120. That's the height. Okay, let's make the outer one, 180. That's this now. So we can add a stroke to this item here. So we can use our stroke color here. So let me drag this here so that we can see this. So for the border radius here, I will be using the 15. And then inside we want this to be transparent, so I can minus the fill here. So then inside this, the next thing I want to do is to create another frame inside this. So I'm going to create another frame. So let me add a fill to this frame. So this time I'm going to make sure that the width of this is 134. Sorry, that is 134. And then the height of this is 120 here. So this is going to house our image. So let's just do some little adjustment here, because I want this to be 15. That's the border. So this, I can make this 20, and then inside here we can make this 15 like this, so that it's going to balance properly. So after changing the border radius of this, so we can change the fill here to F6, F6, F6 here like this. So now we can grab our item here, that's this, and now drop it inside this place here like this. So after adding this here, I feel we can make this better by changing this to a gradient. So I could just drag this here and then play with this around. And then instead of linear, let's try the radial here. So now let me drag this here a little and then concentrate somewhere here. Okay, so if we have this somewhere around this point here, let me increase this here. So make sure your starting point is somewhere at the center here. So that depends on where you want the brightness. So if I push this toward the end, then you see this side is brighter. So I'm going to bring it somewhere where the product is sitting here. That's for the radial now. So we can close this and then I can add the name of this product here. So this is going to be tempe. So after adding this, we're going to change the size here to semi-bold here. So we have this. Then I'm going to add the quantity here. So let's say 1 package. Here 500 ounce. Sorry, you can't see that. Let me drag it in here, and let's reduce the size of this to let's say 8, and the font weight here to regular, so I can go down to 6 here. Okay, so I'm done with this. So for the price here, I can add, let's say this is $20. So the 20, I'm going to make that 14. Let's make sure that is the same size with this here, 14. So semi-bold. Then the price here, I will add, let's say $1 here. Then we can reduce the size to 6, and it's going to be regular like this. So we have these 2 items like this. So hold shift and select these 2 items. Shift A to put them in an auto layout. We're going to do the same thing for this 2 here. Hold shift A, put them in an auto layout here. So now for this, you notice that the text is having its own size and height. So I'm going to select this and change this to auto here. So I'll select this as well and change that to auto here, so that we can be able to manage this. So for this as well, we can select this and make sure they are all auto, because we changed that for the other text, so it's affecting everything. So I'm going to change this back to auto here. So this is an auto layout, so we can just make sure that this is centered here. So our component is done. So what we're going to do here is to select these 2 items here, shift 8, put them in an auto layout, but I want this to be aligned to the bottom here. So don't center this here, just we want that to be aligned to the bottom. So we can drag this. Okay, it's aligned here. So we can drag this as well. Okay, it's aligned here. Then the spacing between these 2 items will be set to auto. So once we have this set to auto, we can now select this item here and convert this to a component. Once we've done that, so here we can double click here, then click on this icon here. This is going to be item name. So I'm going to create a property here. Then I'll select this as well, click on this, but this time we're going to use the create property. So this is going to be item quantity, then press create. Then we're going to do this here for this now. Again, click on this, then create property. This is going to be price. But you can only do this when you convert this to a component. So the last property we want to add is this here. So now we can select the image and then use this icon here. This is going to be item image. So once we have this now, we can come back to our application here, our design, and then I'm going to look for this. So let's say I'll rename the frame to double click on the name here, so item. So I'll drag the first item and then I'll drop it here. So please don't worry about that. We can come back in here and then change the color of the text. So I can select this wherever we are having the white color. I can just do this and then make sure where you having the converting them to the dark color. And for this here, I think we need to adjust this properly. We need a more white background. And let's see the second one here. Let me come down here. So I don't want it too far from this, so I just still want to maintain a white background somewhere here. So I think this looks better. So you can as well take it somewhere far, somewhere at the top here. That depends. Don't go to the red section here. So just to give that design, but for me I'm sticking to the white section, so I can close this. So now we have our first item, our second item here. So let's adjust this a little here. That's the size of the package. It looks too tiny. So let me select this here. So I want you to see the changes that is happening. So let me drag this and then I'll double click to select this package here. So now I want to increase this a little. Okay, so instead of increasing this, we can just make that medium. Yes, that looks better. So I'm going to do the same thing for the dollar. So I'll select this here. So instead of regular, I'll make that medium. So that looks better. So now I can select this item, duplicate this, and then drag this to this section here. So now I'm having the second item. So to change this now, it's very easy. I'll just come in here and say this is chicken. If this is chicken, so here I will change the quantity to 1 kilogram here. So then the price here, I can change that to, let's say, $15 here. So to change the image, we can just select this. While selecting this, let's say we can have our item image. So here I'm going to look for chicken. Let's see. Okay, images. I'm going to look for chicken here. So now you see I can just easily change this item here. So I can select these two items, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So we can scroll down here. And then what I'm going to do now is to grab a copy of this category, duplicate it, and then bring it somewhere here. So you can as well change this to a component. So here, this is going to be best price here. So for this other item, I think we can duplicate this and then drag this downward here. So let's bring that outside and try to change the images here. So I'm going to select individually. So I'll select the first one, the first group here. I'll change the image. So from, I can just say spices. So here I will just select this and then rename that to pepper or something here. Pepper. So I'll leave this to pepper. Then here we can select this group here and then change the image. So from chicken, so I'm going to select this preferred. So local components, I'll go back to my images, open that. So I'm looking for, okay, I have ingredients here. I have meat, side dishes, large. So please make sure whichever one you're selecting, look for the one with the LG at the end. Okay, do we have this? I have this already. So side dishes, I have side dishes. So spices, I have spices already. So let's see, okay, preferred, local, go to images and which one? Vegetables. So here I can come back here and just change this to cabbage like this. I can now drag these two items here, bring them somewhere here. So now we have two items, group 1 and group 2. So I can select this, hold shift and select this item and then Shift A to put them in an auto layout, and I'll make sure that they are aligned properly to this here. So we have this section of our app. The next thing is to create a navigation bar here at the bottom. So right now, I think before we continue, you can select this empty space here. Let's try to adjust the color of this field here, something like this, so that we can have our design properly displayed, so that these sections, things will be visible here. So to add the nav bar, I'm going to use a frame here, and then I'll drag this here, and then I will fill this frame with a white color. So now after adding this, I'm going to come back here and then change the height to this. So I'll make sure that the height is covering everywhere here. So make sure this is also aligned here, so you can use this and then set that to the bottom. So we can create a rectangle, but this time drag it inside this place here. So we can set that to the same height, which is 83 here, and then the width should be 375 here. So just make sure that this is also aligned inside this frame. So if we click on layers here, you see that we have in our frame here, so let's rename that to nav bar. We have a rectangle inside. So this rectangle, we can as well change the color to white. So after changing the color to white, we are going to add an effect to that. The effect should be on the rectangle. So after adding that, make sure here on our frame, you're clicking this here, because we want the effect to be visible. So for the settings here, I'm going to add a drop shadow. So blur, I'm going to set that to 20. So the moment I do that, you notice that we have this design here. We can now differentiate the nav bar and the body. So I will still double click to select this, because this is what we're working on. So here I will put -5 for this to reduce that. Then the opacity for this, so let's change this to E2 here, something lighter. And then we have our nav bar here. So now let's add the icons for the nav bar. So on the icon, I think I have this here. I can convert that to a component here. So let me rename the component to line here. Then we have all our icons. So I have the home, which is field. I have this. Let's convert that to a component. This to a component, and everything here to components. Components, and then this also to a component. Okay, good. So now the first one is the home icon. So I can come in here, I can close this as well. Okay, sorry, I can close this. So now I have my icons, I can open them. So I'm looking for the home, which is active. So I'm going to drag this here. That's for the home. The next one is the cart. I'll drag that here, and then I can drag the categories. So I'm going to use this category here. Then I can look for the chat icon, drag that and then drop it here. Then the last one is the user icon here. So I have all my icons here, so I can select these icons and then Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So I can just drag, push them down a little here. So let's see where they are aligned. So here. So for this active one here, I'm going to click that and then add a field to this. So now for the field, let's try this active here. Okay, that's too much. So let's see which other one. Icon active, good. So this is great. So now for this other color here, I can select this for this color. Let's use this other one here and see. That's also good for this. So now we have our icons here, and I want to align them a little bit properly. So to do that, I'm going to set the spacing between them to auto so that I can adjust this. So here I still want to adjust that a little. So good. So I'm setting the width of this now to 312. So I can center this here. And then I can push these items downward a bit. Then we can look for our line, drag the line and then drop it somewhere here. So I'm going to move the line towards the bottom here and make sure it is centered. So now I have my nav bar here, and then it's showing that this is the active home page here. So now I'm going to drag this icon here and then bring it somewhere here. So now once we are done with this, I can select this and then duplicate this section here. So I'm going to take out this, and as well I'll take out this here again, the best prices. We can take that out, and the categories. So I'm left with this settings here, and then this also will be gone, and then this as well will be gone. So I can select this, drag this here, and then push it to the top here. So I have the search icon. So now this is going to be our category page. So to do that, let's create some components here. So I'm going to add all category here. Then I'm going to make sure that the font size here is 12. So for the active, I'm going to make sure that it's semi-bold here. Then I want to add a little or something tiny here, like this box here. So now this, I'm going to set the width to 8, and then I'll set the height to 4 here. So border radius, I think I'll just use the entire 4. So let's give this a color, this active here. So once we have this, I can select this item, these two items, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So after having this, let's set the spacing between them to 1 here. So this is going to be our categories. Then we have this should be representing the active one. So I can select this and make sure I'm changing the fill here to the dark that we're having here. So now we can convert this to a component, and then I will create a variant for this. So this is going to be inactive. So this should be active instead of default active here. So for the inactive, I'm going to change the fill. So since it's dark, I'm going to detach this. I'll do D9, D6, and then D3. So we should have this here. So for this other section here, I'm going to just delete it here. So we only, okay, let's hide that. Instead of deleting this, we can set the pass-through to just 0 here, so that we can maintain the same height for this. So pass-through 0. So this is now inactive. So we can come back here and then go to our categories. I'll drag this and then drop this somewhere here. This is our category. Duplicate this, drag this here. So this time we only have one active. This is going to be inactive. So let's add the property so that we can easily change the text properties here. So please, you can select this whole command and then shift to select this other text here, so that we can add the property for this text here. So property name or card name. So once we have the category name here, so we can just come in here and then change the name of this. So here I can have popular, that's popular. So I can select this, duplicate this here, and then have another one here again. This is going to be best price. Best price. Then we can have best deals. Best deals. Then we can duplicate this and have packaged deals, etc. So now we have all our categories. So I can select all these items, Shift A to put them in an auto layout, make sure they are all aligned towards the center, and then we can now create our categories items here. So once we have this, let's quickly create another frame here, which is going to be a component. So here I'm going to set the width to 153, here the same. Then the height, this time I'm going to set that to 164 here. So here I'm going to set the border radius here to 20, and I can add a fill to this. So let's drag this to this section because we need to use some of the colors here. So I'm going to press I, and then I'll select this first color here. Once we have this, I'm going to add an image. To do that, I'll go back to assets. I'll look for those images. So I can close this icon here and then open the images. So I'm interested in the large ones. So I'll look for cabbage LG, this vegetable LG. I'll drag it and then drop it here. So after dropping this here, I can align that. Okay, good. So I'll add a text here, which is going to be vegetables, like this. So this should be 16. So I'll make that 16 px, and then it should be semi-bold, which is semi-bold already. So I'm going to align that to center like this. So I have these two items. I can press Shift A to put these two inside an auto layout. Then the spacing between them, I'm going to make that 16. Then we can align these two items to the center of the frame here. So we have this design. So I'm going to select the text here. Make sure I'm changing that to the dark color we have been using. Then let's select this now and then say big category, single item here. So we can convert this to a component now. So let's add some properties to this. Double click on the text here, and then let's add a property here to item name. So here we can select this as well and say item icon here. So we now have this. So when I come back in here and then I go on this single item, I can just drag this and then drop this here. So if I duplicate this and then I drag this and drop this somewhere here, I can just select this and change this to fruits here. And then for the image, I'm going to look for fruits LG, that's fruits large. So I will duplicate this, but this time now you notice we also need to change not just the images but also the colors. So let's do the same thing here, spices here. So I can look for spices LG, and then we also need to change the color. So we can do the same thing we are having here. So I'll drag this. So let me zoom in so that we can see, so that we can create variants for this. So I can click on the plus sign here. So I'll just say cat. Okay, type 1, since it's type 1. So I'm going to change the color. So scroll down where we are having the let's say selection color here. I can select this and change this to this color here. So we can do one time again. Let's click on this, add the plus sign here. So where we are having the fill here, I can select this and change that to, let's say, this color here. So now let's go back and then try to adjust them and see. So if I select this, let's go back, rename this items here. So we have type 1 here, so this should be type 2. Type 2, it just makes more sense. So we can go back here and say this is going to be type 1. So instead of default type 1, so this I can select this, it's going to be type 2. Sorry, I'm selecting the wrong section. So type 2. So we can do that for the remaining ones. So I'll come in here, we can select this and then add. You can just select this here, this, select this here. So I can change the colors for this. So here, scroll down where we have the fill, select the fill, and then I'm going to change that to this. I'll do the same thing for this. Select this and I'll change this to this color here. Then one last time, I'm going to select this and then add a variant, and I'm going to change the fill to this. So now we can just quickly rename this. I think we have the name for this type 2. This is going to be type 3. Type 3. This is going to be our type 4. Type 4, and then type 5. Type 5. Okay, good. So we can come back in here and then keep duplicating, Control D here. I think I want to change this now from type 2 to type 3. So, and these two, let's put them in an auto layout first. These two, shift auto layout, then easy to maintain. So we have this other one. So let's change the name for this here. So I'm going to select this item here. I'm going to change that to ingredients. ingredients here. So assuming it's the product, so I would just look for, okay, I'll just select this local component here, go back to my images. So let's check the categories images. Then I'm looking for ingredients here, large. So we can have that. Then we can do the same thing for the side dishes. So I'll select this to Ctrl D to duplicate, drag them down here. So I will select this, double click, and then change this to side dishes like this. And then we can change the icon as well to side dishes. So I'm going to go back to my local components, images, side dishes, LG. We have that here. Then we can do the same thing for meat. This is going to be meat, and we can look for the meat here, images here, and I'm going to look for meat LG. I have the meat LG, so I can change the frame for this now, type 4 and type 5. So we have this items here. So let's say we are okay with this items, so I'll put them in an auto layout by pressing Shift A. So now let's do a simple calculation. Put this to center, and the spacing between these two items is 20. So I want to, let's say, make sure that this looks better like this. Let's make that 20 here, or we can just have that. Let's see. Okay, that looks okay, but not too good, but then it's manageable. So I can select maybe this ones here and then duplicate them, so we can drag them to the end here. So for this now, you make sure we are selecting this, right click and then send backward here, send backward, so that it's going to be underneath this nav bar. So for the nav bar, I'm going to change one thing here. I will bring this icon here. So I'm going to come back in here for this, go to our assets. I'm going to close the images, open our icons here. So I'm going to drag this and then drop it somewhere in here. Then for this, I'm going to delete this. And so now after adding this, now I'm going to come back and then select this home icon, and then I'm going to drop that here. So now let me see, we have how many items here. I'm going to delete this category here because it's no longer the active one. So this here is going to be the active one here. And then for the fill, I'm going to add a fill, and I'm going to change the color to this particular fill that we are having here. Then for the icon, we can just select maybe this selection color here and then use the active one here. So I think I'll do the same thing for this dot. I will select this, press I, and then pick this here to show that we are in the category section, which is the active one here. So now we can make some alignments here. I can come in here and then select these two items, Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So the spacing between them is 12. So this as well, Shift A, put them in an auto layout. So I'll make sure that the spacing is 16 between them here. So these two items, Shift A, put them in an auto layout, spacing between them 12. And then the same, okay, this is already in a group. So this items again, and then this, Shift A here, the spacing between them, we can make that 12 here. So now we can go back to layers here and then rename this. This is going to be best deals. And then for this, we have our banner. Then this is our banner. Here we have category here. And then let's see which other item is left unnamed here. So here we can have the header. So we just have some few items here in this particular section here, and then the same thing with this. So if we want to make this scrollable, so let me press Shift and then the space bar. So this is how it's going to look on the mobile. So we want to make this scrollable here. So at this point I can't do anything here. I can just select these items here, go to prototype here, Then for the scrolling, I'm going to set that to horizontal scrolling. Then I can just come in here. Let's zoom in, come to this point here, go back to design. So let's say I'm dragging this to this point here. So now if I click on this now, you see I should be able to scroll this now. So for these are items here as well, we can also enable the scrolling here. So I can go back to prototype here and say we want vertical scrolling. So for the vertical scrolling, I have to make sure that this here is drawn here. I have this somewhere here. We want to be able to scroll to this level. But if I should do that and I try to do this now, you see it's passing through these items here, and then we don't want that. So to do that, or to fix this now, we can select these two items here, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So once we've done that, I can now add a frame now. So I can just use right click and then frame selection. So they are now inside a frame, so I can increase the size of this frame. Don't worry about that, I'll increase the size of the frame. So for these items inside, I can press center to bring them back. But then this is our frame here. We can as well increase the height of the frame here. So now after having the frame here, I can now select this inner item and then try to push this down, so till this meets the line here. So once it's touching the line here, for our frame we can now add a fill to this. So now if I'm scrolling, let me select this now, you see it just goes underneath this section here, so we can scroll to see our dishes here. And then if you want to add more spacing to this, you can just increase the height of this here, so that when you're scrolling now, it's just have this somewhere here. So that's how to fix that. So for the home screen, we can come back in here and then select this here, so it's going to appear here. So if you want to add the horizontal scroll, for this we're going to make sure that we are selecting this item, duplicate it maybe twice. So here I'm going to select this group and then increase the width of this here. So after increasing the width of these items here, we can select this item here and then go to prototype. So we're going to have the horizontal scroll. Then I can come back to my design and then I'm going to drag this here. So but this time now, for the spacing between them, I can set that to 16 here manually, so that it doesn't affect our design. So if I should come back in here and I select, I should be able to scroll between these two items here. So the same thing for the best deals, you can just do the same thing here, and then you will be able to scroll up and down. So this is how to now fix this here. You see we can now scroll between these two items. If you want to be able to navigate to this section here, you can click back on the prototype and then click on this icon here, double click to select this icon here and then point to this item. So now when on click, now we just want to, okay, so instant here, we should be able to move to this section here. So as well here, if you click on this, we want to be able to come back to this section here. It's going to be instant, so but we can modify that. So you see we have this here and then we have this, we can now move. And if you select any of these properties, you want to open the fruit section or any of this, so we can have the show all. And then if you click on show all, it's supposed to take you to that page. So now if I click on show all, it's going to bring me here and I should be able to scroll this and then I should be able to move between this. If you like tutorials like this, kindly hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next tutorial.